Namaskar. A very good evening to each one of you to this session of Wisdom Wednesdays. So as is customary, let us take a few moments to center ourselves and get into the inner space of grace. Be aware of that center from where the breath is being regulated. The incoming breath dissolves there, and the outgoing breath starts from there. So as you explore this space, let us pray for grace by invoking the Guru principle. So we'll chant Om 3 times and then pray to the Guru. So each time take a good breath in and chant Om. By chanting Om, we create protective layers over our various bodies. And let us pray to the Guru principle now. Om Akhanda Mandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwarah Guruh Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Shri Sadgurave Namaha. We bow down to all the masters at all levels of existence and seek their blessings and grace for this session. Sadgurunath Maharaj Ki Jai. Just a simple prayer for grace can bring such centeredness within. It's amazing. So the topic for today's session that I had chosen is that something like this, that move away from the pseudo self to the real self. Now pseudo is a word which is very common these days. Whomsoever we want to denigrate or insult, we say, "Oh, he's a pseudo," or "she is a pseudo," isn't it? It's very much in use these days. So, but don't feel insulted when I say move away from the pseudo self to the real self. Because what is pseudo is something that is not real. So it is for all of us to contemplate as to what is real and what is pseudo. What is that unreal part or unreal description that we give to ourselves, which is totally different from who we truly are? It's not very difficult. If we look at ourselves, something that strikes each one of us is that we are alive. And because we are alive, we think that we are. And how do we know that we are? Because we think that we are. So we know anything because we think this is real or this is it. So we think of ourselves in so many different ways: man, woman. We identify with the body, we identify with the age, we identify with our profession, the roles that we play in life. There is so much to identify with. And each time we are identified with something that we think we are, we get carried away by that thought and we are totally identified with that. So at that time, we forget that there is something within us or somebody within us, that integral part of us that is playing all these roles, that can identify with anything. It's like someone who can wear many hats, perform different roles. But because we are identified with the roles, we forget who is playing these roles. So why does this happen? Why is it that we identify with our roles? And what is causing this identification? When we are growing up, our parents told us a few things. And if we really accepted them, took them to heart, those became our belief systems. But there are so many things that our parents might have told us, but in life, when we meet other people, we see how things are happening, how business is being transacted, we find that many of those things that our parents told us do not hold good. So once we realize that some of these things do not hold good, we move away from them. But in the process, we are creating further belief systems. And because of the belief system, there is a lot of conflict. Somebody is justifying, say, capitalism, another person justifies communism, somebody justifies this religion, another person justifies that religion. Forgetting the fact that the whole purpose of all these belief systems is to improve the man. So the person who is supposed to be the beneficiary of all these belief systems, that person is lost sight of. We are not bothered about that because we are looking at something else. So if we really examine how we think, who we think we are, we come to know that whatever happens, we are alive, we have this awareness that brings many things to us. Those things get interpreted by our thought process and the mind, and they draw certain conclusions. But what is that which brings everything to us? That power of perception, the pure perception that this is common to each one of us. We all have it. But we rarely try to explore that the power of awareness that makes everything, that brings everything alive, that sheds light on everything. It's very amazing. It has many a times we have discussed this, that we think that the eyes see, but the eyes don't see. The eyes are seeing a very small things in a very small area. And there also, the eyes do not see everything all at once. When we focus our attention on one object before us, other objects disappear. We are not aware of them. When we look at something else, then the first one which we had thought or which we are focusing our attention on disappears. There may be so many smells around us, but we come to know of only that smell to which we pay our attention. There may be many sounds around us, but we listen to only that sound to which we pay our attention. So there is something which is very subtle that each one of us has, that is attention or awareness. Now what is that? And we all have it, and yet we all have our own favorite belief systems, our own attachments of who we think we are, and that is how we are guided. And that is how we have been living our lives. So the question is, what are we going to do about it? So to become rooted in that power of awareness that we have, each one of us, and we seem to be blissfully unaware of, what is to be done? The happiest thing is that we don't have to go anywhere to do anything about it. We can start wherever we are. So, what is the first step? We must realize that we are not aware. We are aware of the end result of whatever our senses and mind are telling us. But that power, that energy which is bringing everything to us, we are not aware of that energy. So how do we begin? The first step is to recognize our own unawareness. How do we recognize that? So just close your eyes. And let your mind go wherever it wants to go. But keep track of the mind, because you have awareness. Try to look at every thought as it arises and as it subsides. And if there is a train of thoughts, be aware of the thoughts, various thoughts that are coming in and dissolving, and new thoughts are arising. Let your attention be razor sharp. You can gently open your eyes. So how did it feel? Was it relaxing? Anybody?
Chain of thought. uh,
Beg your pardon, Ankur?
बहुत
Manoj?
सारे बहुत सारे थॉट आए पहले। तो जो आपने कहा कि मतलब अवेयरनेस को लेके, तो उसी
बहुत सारे thoughts हैं. Lots of thoughts. Yes.
जस्ट मिनट को
So this is the normal thing. Thoughts arise.
सर,
Yes,
अ, जैसे आपने कहा कि अवेयरनेस पे आप बोल रहे थे, उसी पे एक थॉट आया कि हम लोग मेंटेनेंस का काम करते हैं। उसमें काम करने से पहले टीम के साथ में टूल बॉक्स टॉक करते हैं। तो इसी पे मैंने आज सुबह ही लोगों से बात की थी कि छोटा बच्चा भी जो होता है वो भी जानता है कि हमको सेफ्टी क्या होती है। अगर हम छोटी छोटी बातों पे अवेयर रहेंगे तो किसी भी तरह की चोट नहीं लगेगी। तो ये मेरी टीम जो थी 30-40 लोगों के, उनके साथ डिस्कस किया था। यही पहला थॉट मेरे को यही आया जब आपने कहा सर।
thank you for sharing. Tammy may not have understood what you said, so I will translate it for her. in English. This gentleman works in a factory where they have to do a lot of maintenance work. So this morning when he was addressing his team, he said that even a small child knows about safety. So when we have this awareness about safety, we can do our work better, which is true. So that is about awareness in action. So there are two things which are interlinked: awareness in action, and if it becomes a habit, then it is action in awareness. We'll come to that a little later, but Manjari ji, you want to say something?
I'm just listening actually to you because it's one of my first sessions. So I thought I'll just listen and maybe share with you later on.
Okay, that's wonderful. Yes,
Sir,
Padma.
can I say something, Sir? Padma.
Yes, Padma. Yes.
So actually, I joined just around the time when you said close your eyes. But for the initial part, I had no thoughts. I mean, I was struggling. I was surprised. I said, what is it? The only thought was, I'm in this program and I'm listening to you for quite some time. And then, although I got a few thoughts, a number of thoughts I can actually count in that period, which is not normally the case with me. My mind runs, races everywhere. So I don't know what effect it was, but I thought I should just share this with you.
No, that is the combined energy of the group.
Huh.
When seekers are there together in a program, then the combined energy is such that the mind brakes are put on the mind. So that is why it happened. But you said, I am in this program and I am listening. So that is also a thought.
Right. That was the only thought. That's what I'm saying initially for quite some time.
Okay. So for many people, these were few thoughts they were able to watch. There may be others who had several thoughts. Now, if we look at the train of thoughts, how the mind is working, there are certain thoughts which have a higher momentum. Like Manoj had this thought about what he told his team in the factory today. So the kind of work we are doing, there may be somebody who is a businessman, he has to collect the dues from his customers. So when he sits and closes his eyes, then the thought about making his collections come up. So he is feeling very nice and quiet, and suddenly this thought comes, oh my God, this customer has not paid me for 6 months now. So this thought obviously has greater momentum. So the mind runs after that thought, and the fellow runs after that thought. And this is how it goes on. So when we say watch the thought or be aware of the thoughts, it's a kind of a seesaw game that the mind starts playing. For some time, we are aware of what is going on in the mind. Then something comes up which has either an emotional content or something which is urgent in our lives at that time, and suddenly the mind starts running with that thought. And this is how it goes on. But because we have awareness, and we can go back to that awareness, it is through that awareness that light is being put on everything that we perceive, whether it is a thought in the mind or an object on the outside. Sometimes it may happen that you are sitting before the TV screen or the mobile screen or the laptop screen, and suddenly you don't notice anything. Why? Because the awareness is not there. So unless the awareness goes in that direction and brings or throws light on that particular object, no object can become clear. Isn't it true? We are in a conversation, but suddenly the mind goes elsewhere. So our awareness goes elsewhere. And we lose the track of what the other person has been telling us. So it is the awareness and its flow, its direction, that determines for us as to what we are going to observe or perceive. So what do we do about it? So that is where the question of understanding comes. That we have this habit of analyzing everything. Like I said, that there is a businessman, he has to make certain collections from his customers who have taken goods on credit, somebody hasn't paid for a long time, and the thought goes to that customer or that party, and his mind runs haywire. Why? Because of analysis. We are passing through a difficult time in our personal relationship. So the mind brings up the thought of that person with whom we are having an issue. Somebody is having a court case, so the mind naturally goes to that court case. So the mind has this habit of bringing up things where we are entangled. So what can we do about it? Any suggestions from anyone?
Focused attention.
Beg your pardon? Indraji?
Give it focused attention.
Give it focused. No, the moment you give it
Yes.
more attention than is needed, then the mind gets carried away.
Because right now, during the experience of awareness, my awareness was just on thoughts, and discovered the moment I closed my eyes and was giving awareness to thoughts, realized that no thoughts were arising at all.
So,
Till even the awareness went into just stillness, probably. There are no words to express what happened.
because you are a meditator, long time meditator, and you are used to it. So everything is arising from pure awareness. There is a big secret there. So everything is arising from pure awareness. When we try and investigate where that particular thing is coming from, then it dissolves. So a thought comes up, but if we follow the thought to its root, there is no thought.
There was no thoughts at all.
There is no thought. So this is a very good technique. But we can use it for other purposes also. Like there is some habit that we want to give up. This is not exactly the topic today, but this came up because this is something that I have used a few times. If you want to give up a habit, what could be done? So when the urge comes up, don't act upon it. Don't get caught up with that habit. Pay attention and figure out where is this urge coming from. And the urge will disappear. So this is a tried and tested method about getting into pure awareness, where the thought disappears. And this is also the process where just by paying attention to the thoughts or becoming aware of the thoughts, we can let go of the thought and get established in pure awareness where there is no thought. This is called, a great master has said, this is called dehydrating the thoughts. When somebody is dehydrated, they die. So the thought has a certain energy. That energy is so powerful it can just unsettle you. But you give your focus or attention to it, but without getting entangled in it, without being carried away by that thought, then what happens? The thought gets dehydrated and it dies. But that is something that can come up later when a person has really practiced this to an extent where one is able to really watch the thought. Now, those people who are going to get carried away by the thoughts, what are they going to do? So, there is a very simple technique. Make a habit for some time of writing a journal. Start writing every morning or every night as you go to bed what is bothering you. Now, when you start writing, then you will notice that it is very silly. Because whatever is bothering, this can be put in two categories. One, that requires some action. So there is something that requires an action. So if it is bothering, just by bothering, nothing is going to work out. So what you do when you start writing, then you will be compelled to write the action points. This is what I need to do. And there may be certain things which will be just the product of your imagination. Like a child does not return home from school at the appointed hour. And the mother gets desperate. And in her mind, she conjures up endless numbers of scenarios as to what would have happened to the child. And then after half an hour, the child comes home smiling because he had dropped on the way back and went to a friend's house for some chit chat or doing something. But in this 1/2 hour, the mother has gone through hell. So something which is the nature of the mind, we think of the worst scenarios, we bother about those things, even when nothing has happened. So if we start writing about what is bothering us, it is a process of analyzing what is bothering us. So when we see what is bothering us, we may discover that many of these things are born out of habit. Our impressions through so many lifetimes, we have cultivated certain habits. So we keep bothering about them. There is something that irks us. There are attachments that we have, unfounded, or dislikes that we have, unfounded dislikes. But when we start putting them on paper, it becomes easy for ourselves to dissociate from these thoughts. Long ago in our Guru's ashram, we were taught a technique of feedback. Because groups were made of very disparate people, and some decisions had to be taken, some processes had to be evolved, and things had to be done. Now in Sanskrit there is this saying that munde munde matir bhinna. Every mind has its own specific way of thinking. So there would be different people. It was a kind of an ashram scenario. Nobody had any authority. Nobody had a veto. Everybody had a say. So how to find out a good process to come to a consensus? So one of the Swamis said that you have a blackboard and whatever is to be discussed, write it down there. So this is our objective, write down the objective. Then Mr. X gets up, he says these are the things that I think should be done. Y gets up and says these are the things I think should be done. What we all realized is that when we say that this is what I think is to be done and it is written there, the personal involvement with that thought whittles down. It is lessened. So if there is another thought, another suggestion that comes up which is superior to ours, it becomes easy for us to let go of our thought or our suggestion and accept the other one. But as long as we are in the mind, the ego is very strong. It will not allow us to come to a resolution. So a great way is to write down what is bothering us. And if we write, then we begin to see how silly the mind is and what its gains are. Then it also becomes easier for us to develop a sense of functionality. There may be some genuine concerns. Somebody may be having a health issue, somebody may be having wealth issues, somebody may be having relationship issues, but something needs to be done about it. So when we start writing, we can develop our own action points that this is what I need to do. So when a person has arrived at the action points, he can just fold the book and put it aside. And he will find that it is much easier for the mind not to bother or not to be bothered about that particular aspect of life.
Sir, when we create a to-do list for what to do, then इससे गिल्ट भी सर जनरेट होता है. मतलब जब हम कर नहीं पाते हैं, बहुत समय से कोई टू डू लिस्ट बनाया क्या करना है हमको, और कई बार वो जैसे मेरे ही साथ है 10-15
I can understand that when you make a to-do list and you don't act upon it, then at some point of time you are going to have a regret, a sense of regret. I didn't do it. But that is the test in life. That is the test. So don't make a resolution which is too high. Your to-do list should be about something that you can do in the short term. It is not some great resolution being typed in golden letters and put on a wall. No. It has to be acted upon. So the thing is that when we do this kind of work, this is the real practice. People say, oh, mind is very strong, it is bothering me, I don't know, I'm in so much trouble. But the thing is that mind has the power to think. We have given it that power. We alone can reduce the hold of the mind on us. But for that, we must understand the mind. So just meditating, sitting quietly for some time, without applying intelligence, it's not going to help, because the same thing will happen the next day, then the next day, then the next day. There are people who have been trying to meditate for so many years. The progress is not happening. Why? Because the process has not been understood. We are dealing with the mind, so we must understand the mind. Then we must understand what is it that we can do. Small baby steps. And that is how the mind can become our friend. How do we make friends in life? We treat people with love. So mind is an instrument that has been given to us by God, but we cannot just discard the mind. Some people want to meditate that, okay, today I have decided that I will meditate and today itself I will get enlightenment. It's not going to happen that way. And sometimes when people are not willing to do this work, then they get disappointed. But it is not that difficult. So when we sit to meditate, there are things that are going to bother us. Let us make a list. Let us do something about this. Then do that and then develop an attitude of functionality. Somebody is caught up in a bad relationship. Now that has happened. So we have to find a way out that despite that bad relationship, when we sit down to meditate, we are able to sit quietly for some time. We may be going through a difficult time in our business, in our personal lives, but that should be possible to do. So how do we do it? So that is where we must analyze those thoughts. But this analysis is only supportive, because it is that power of analysis which ultimately draws us away. Like somebody is very much in love with, some devotional songs or music. So he's trying to meditate and suddenly some nice chanting, something comes up and the fellow says, oh, wonderful. It is so good. I am so happy. But this is also a thought. Somebody has been brought up in a very conservative environment, and now he finds that there are people going out, getting into live-in relationships, this and that. And the moment something like this comes up, that the fellow starts, becoming very angry from inside and said, why is this society going to dogs? This is a thought. So things are going to happen. How are we going to maintain the process of observation of all our thoughts? That is important. And if we start observing our thoughts, then at some point of time when the observation becomes very strong, then as Indiraji said, pointed out that the thoughts are going to get dehydrated and they will drop. But as long as they do not drop, the thoughts are going to be there. So what is it that we are supposed to develop? An attitude of noticing. It is the nature of the mind to think. Thoughts are going to be created. I don't have to do anything. It is like watching a movie of the mind. So a thought has come up, let it be there. Some thoughts may be exasperating. Like there are many people who have this idea that if I am trying to meditate, there should not be a thought about sex. But it is going to come up. So what will happen? There are great masters who have had these thoughts. There is this story about Baba Muktananda, my guru's guru. He went into a kind of a retreat for 12 years, and one fine morning, one evening, he had this sexual arousal, and he was very bothered, very much bothered, that how is it that this is happening to me? I am a sannyasi. All my tapasya is being lost. And another saint from nearby place came to tell him that this is energy. So you are experiencing the mother goddess Kundalini in this form. So don't be bothered. It's energy. And it stopped bothering him. Guruji Prem Nirmal was once talking about his master, Dada Gavand, who went to the hill in Sajjangarh and just sat there. And he was somebody who was not bothered about sex. He was a person who had very detached outlook on life and everything. But when he just sat and meditated and meditated and meditated for several months without break, he found that the sexual thoughts came up. But he was observing. And then he came to this realization that all creation is sexual in nature. Man has been created by the power of sex. So every cell has that energy. So when the energy of meditation is working, many impressions, they are going to come up and be released. So let it be there. It is just a thought which is coming to me. and gradually the thought dissipated. So it is like this, that anything that is going to come up, we do not know what is going to come up when we sit to meditate. All that we need to do is to just notice. Don't be carried by it. A thought has come up, it will carry on its play in your mind for some time and then it will dissolve. If you start noticing it, then it will not bother you. It will have its song and dance and go away. So I think for today this is good enough. We should just practice it for some time. So what is important is understanding and no practice gives zero result. Practice, 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 but no understanding, that also gives zero result. Because you practice, but the same kind of mental undulations are there. If one does not understand it, so today's session is over, then tomorrow somebody sits, the same thing happens over and over again. So when we bring this understanding, then we develop the ability to notice the thoughts and let them go. So just sit erect, become aware of your posture, and just pay attention to your breath. Many a time when people try to meditate, they feel sleepy. If you don't want to get sleepy, you can use this mudra. Just put all the fingers, this 3 fingers in the palm and touch the thumb and the forefinger. You can keep the hands in your lap. The energy released through this mudra will not allow anyone to sleep. Just pay attention to the natural rhythm of breathing, preferably in the ratio of 3:2. And develop an attitude of witnessing. You can keep your eyes closed, or if you want, you can just keep your eyes slightly open. Do what is convenient to you and what you are comfortable with. Sometimes when we keep our eyes slightly open, it becomes much easier not to be carried away by the mind. But if it distracts you, keep your eyes closed. If it is possible for you, give your attention to 2 thoughts or 2 things. Be attentive or be conscious of your breathing, and at the same time try to watch the thoughts that are there in your mind. By its nature, the mind cannot give its attention to two things at a time. So when we put attention simultaneously on the breathing process and the thoughts, the mind becomes very weak. And it stops bothering us. Keep sharpening your awareness, making yourself more and more aware of every thought. And if the mind creates some strong thoughts, and your attention wanders away, Very gently bring your awareness back to witnessing. Witness your breath and your thought both. Start becoming aware of your breathing. Take a few deep breaths. Start becoming more and more aware of your body. Become aware of how and where your feet are placed, where your hands are resting, how your body is held together. With closed eyes, become aware of everybody else or everything else around you. And when you are ready, open your eyes very, very gently. If you want, you can bring your palms together, rub them against one another. Cover your eyes with your palms and feel the energy flowing from your palms into your body or vice versa. Keep breathing, and when you are ready, just caress yourself gently and open your eyes, bringing yourself in the here and now. So how did it go? Anybody wants to share something? Otherwise, we'll close.
Very, very serene, very peaceful.
Very peaceful. Yes, it was very powerful.
And very refreshing. लग रहा है
Very
सो
refreshing. Okay, नींद तो नहीं आई? Nobody
नहीं
slept?
बिल्कुल नहीं
नहीं. Okay.
For fraction of time, sir, there is no thought.
No thought. Huh? Yes, that is true. So that is a kind of a glimpse that if you persist, with the practice, then the gap of no thought will begin to increase. And then it becomes possible for one to get into that no thought zone at will. So you make an intention and all thoughts disappear. So that is it. Yes, Tammy, you want to say something? You have unmuted yourself.
Yes, just two things. I found it very peaceful. I liked today how you shared and then we were quiet and then again and then now. So it gave us. I felt like I had some time to process a little bit.
Yes.
What you shared, and thank you for encouraging us about writing. I write all the time, but because I enjoy it, I have a journal, but I don't know why I do it. I know that sounds strange, but I like the approach today to think about our things that have not gone right and try to figure out a little bit why we're writing about that. But yeah, I just like to get things on paper.
What is the time when you write?
I like writing in the morning. I
In the
feel
morning,
fresh and just,
soon after you leave the bed?
yeah, it can be right when I'm just having a cup of tea. I just write. Yeah.
So it is like this that you can, I can give a suggestion in that regard, that you keep your notebook and pen by the side of the bed. So when you get up, you start writing whatever comes to your mind. Don't set an agenda, or maybe you can set an agenda in the night when you are going to bed.
Okay.
Right. And you get up and you start writing. It might be something about whatever subject you have decided while going to bed, or it could be anything else, but you just write. And when you start writing like this, then it's a beautiful spiritual process. When we are writing just like this, whatever is there in the subconscious mind, it starts putting itself on paper, in words. And to grow spiritually, we need to cleanse the subconscious mind. The conscious mind is something that we are aware of. We can see what is going on there. But the real problem is with the subconscious mind, because that is a storehouse of all the things that we have done in past lives. We are not aware of what lies there. And that is where some of our belief systems, biggest binding belief systems, some of our so-called good habits and so-called bad habits, everything is stored there. So when we start writing, we are allowing all these impressions a passage to come out and put themselves on paper. And because when we write something, it is possible for us to detach ourselves from what we have written. So it's a process of cleansing the subconscious mind. So the hold of the subconscious mind starts reducing. And I had this amazing experience with this kind of writing. I had taken a program where my teacher said that I am giving you this sentence, once upon a time on a rainy day. And you get up in the morning and start writing. Write this particular part of the sentence and start writing. I found it very strange. How can I do something like this? And I started writing. And the hint that she had given was that don't think, don't stop. Don't stop to change or correct any mistakes that you have made in writing. Because the moment you start thinking, the flow will disappear. And I kept on writing. A beautiful spiritual story put itself on paper. And then I realized that this is something that must have been there through some experience of some lifetime, and it wanted to come out. But just because I just kept on writing in flow, I gave what I realized through my own experience, that this is a process of cleansing our, or emptying, not cleansing may spiritually, when the hold of the subconscious mind on us is reduced. Because that is where the most binding impressions are stored. So thank you for sharing this. It is not easy because most people do not want to write. They find it very difficult because perhaps, there is this inner fear that I don't know what is going to come out. But people must realize that whatever will come out will be for good. Or somebody has gone through a very difficult experience through this lifetime, a divorce, a bad relationship, or something like that. If they start writing about it, they will find that they are absolutely healed. Because once what is challenging comes out on paper, it's gone. We have let it out. So anybody else wants to say something? Otherwise, I'll close. Tammy says, I just read it. What is it that you have written? After I write, I feel empty. Yes, that is, you are having that experience. It's the experience of emptiness. So right, that is your greatest spiritual practice, Tammy. But everybody must learn from you, from this experience. Because if we really write, I do write quite a few things, answers to people or whatever, but each time I write, I have the same experience that after it is finished and I go through it, there is a sense of happiness, a sense of completion. And it is very, very wonderful. So thank you for sharing this beautiful practice. Umaji said peaceful. Yes, Umaji, it was powerful today.
Sir, writing helps in two ways. I, at some very low points, when I was troubled by fear, anger, and I didn't have control over emotions, I started writing down what I thought were grievances. I wrote, as you said, without thinking. First thought that came, all that I'm feeling. I felt a big burden of. Next day when I read it, most of it seemed irrelevant, unpleasant. It is like a muck. And I said, I am not this. I'm much, much better. This is not me. I was very harsh with myself. That is a bad habit I have. I'm extremely punishing. It's because of my ego. I can forgive others. I can't forgive myself. How can I do it? It's a very extreme form of ego, and I'm very egoistical. So I felt quite annoyed. I said, who am I? I am praying to Lord Shiva. I am praying to all the gods. I am reading scripture. Why do I put myself in the pedestal and think I am an ordinary human being? I can make mistakes. I can have wrong notions. Suddenly the sense of peace of forgiving myself came. and I felt that I had done so many good things in my life. Gratitude came. I got a feeling very cheerful. Then it also helped me forgive one or two. It just went away like a snake shedding its skin, like molting, no? One fine day, that my ideas, concepts, resentment, just like a dirty piece of cloth, like it just went off like that. And that feeling has never revisited me again.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Vatsala. So I think we have
I
over.
like your gratitude exercise. You made us do it. I think you should start that and make us read out what we have written. What are the things we are grateful for?
Yes,
We
that is, you can choose what you write. Sometimes people find it very difficult to write about what is bothering them or what are their difficult experiences. So they should write, they should keep a habit of writing something what they are grateful for or what is something good that has happened to them during the day. Just writing about it. It's about diverting the mind.
And so the last point I want to make is sometimes it gives us answers to questions which you can't find in books, or you ask people, learned people, they don't answer certain questions. Doubt is there. You are disturbed when you meditate. But when you write it down, mysteriously, some master, some divine force gives you the answer. Then you'll wonder, oh, I wrote like this in my diary. Now I'm getting the answer. One fine day it will come. When it will come, but you get the answer.
It is like this, Vatsala. All of us who are here, we are all old souls. We have had, God alone knows how many lifetimes. We have gone through so much, and there is so much wisdom within. But because of the cover of ego or our own, patterns of thought and behavior, we are unable to access all that wisdom. So when we start writing, we allow the passage to all that wisdom to come out and pour itself before us. And that is what you said, that it can be, it can surprise you that, did I write this? Has it come from me? But that's the way we must give that, this whatever wisdom we have, the inner knowledge that we have, the opportunity to come out and shine in our lives. So for that, writing is a very good practice. I think I'll close here. So we'll just end with the Shanti part. सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनो सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चिद् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय. Thank you, everyone. We'll meet again next week. Bye-bye.